Welcome to another video from Chelsea's Chapters. Full disclosure, I've been wanting to be more consistent with this channel, and so that's kind of one of my goals for 2026, but I've been sick for the past 8 days. I've been running fever. So you will not see my face in the beginning or end of this video, but you will see it in the middle when I talk about this book and when I absolutely gush over leaving Oxford. I filmed that video in the fall and I didn't have time to edit it then, but surprisingly, being sick in the bed, I've had time to edit it this week, and so I wanted to go ahead and get that out and share these wonderful books with you. Welcome to a new video of Chelsea's Chapters. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've got a few books that I wanted to share with you today that I have already started reading, and actually, I've already started and finished this one, and I'm currently reading this. So I'm going to talk about this one first. Okay, this is Christian fiction, and the way that I found out about it is laughable. I just totally stumbled upon it. So the author is Janet Ferguson, which I think I might have already talked about this in a video before, but anyway, I'm just going to say it again. I was looking for Melissa Ferguson at the library because I've recently discovered her books. I've only read one, but I loved it. And my husband got a gift card from Amazon from his work, and he ordered me another Melissa Ferguson book that I really wanted. And so it's coming tomorrow, and I'm so excited. But anyway, I was looking in the Ferguson part of fiction because I wanted to see if the library had any more of those books. And I saw Janet Ferguson, and on the side, I saw Leaving Oxford. Of course, I assumed it was Oxford, England, but I live 30 minutes away from Oxford, Mississippi, and that's where I work. And so I pulled it out, and I was like, I wonder which Oxford this is. Turns out it's Oxford, Mississippi, where I work and teach. It's set at the university where I teach. And so I was like, I've got to see what this is all about. It's Christian fiction, and it's set in the town that I love. And yeah, the author was I think it was banking and finance major. Yeah, so she doesn't have like a literary background really, or an English background, excuse me. And so yeah, here are a few reasons why I was skeptical about this book but wanted to give it a try. So number one, never heard of this woman before, so that's an obscure author. That's one strike against it. Number two, her background is banking and accounting, so not saying that they can't be great authors, because they can, but generally that's not the background that you have when you want to be a writer. Okay, number three, it is Christian fiction, and sometimes Christian fiction can be a little bit like, oof. And let's see, number four, it's part of a series called Southern Hearts series, and so I was really concerned that it was going to be like, I don't even know how to explain this. Like if somebody who wasn't from the South wrote this, excuse me, which she's from Mississippi, somebody who wasn't from the South wrote this, I could see where it could be a little cringy in that it was like trying to be something it was not, like you're trying to make it more Southern than it needs to be. So I was concerned that that would happen. None of my concerns were valid. This book was wonderful. I just kept being so surprised the whole way through of how much I was enjoying it. I am so impressed. So something that really impressed me about this book was, if you read certain authors, you will notice over time, whether it's in one book or in other books that they have, like sets of books or series, that they have certain words that they use almost like a crutch. And so you'll see like the same word over and over, whether it's just a descriptive word or a verb that's, they're trying to just use like a stronger verb there. You will see like, not a pattern, but you'll just see some repetition. I did not find that in here. This was over 300 pages, and I kept waiting for like a phrase or something to be repeated and for me to be annoyed with it, but that didn't happen. So I was really impressed by the vocabulary that she used, by the writing style, by how wide the vocabulary was, and how she didn't just fall into familiar phrases. I was also really impressed by her character development. So the main character is named Sarah Beth. She works at the university where I teach, and I took a picture of the book next to the building that Sarah Beth teaches in, so that was kind of fun. But yes, she teaches at Ole Miss, and I guess she has kind of a complicated backstory, and so anyway, and I'm going to get to that in a second. On the surface, I thought I had her figured out, and she was just more complex than I originally expected. She had this little quirk, and I won't say what it was, but I thought that was really good of the author to include. That's kind of something that you see advanced authors do, or like in a TV show. I forgot the name of the show, but there was one character who like always had her glasses like that. And so when you have those little idiosyncrasies with a character, it makes them so much more real, and you just are able to imagine them as real humans more. And so I was impressed by that. Of course, I loved the setting. I mean, she talked about Sardis Lake, which I lived in Sardis during COVID, and my dad has a little farmhouse there, and I spent lots of hours fishing out there. And so, yeah, I loved that they went there. And oops, was that a spoiler? Okay, that might have been a spoiler. They also go downtown in Oxford to the square, and they go to, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying all this. They go to some restaurants and places that I'm like, okay, I know which restaurant that is. So that was just fun to kind of have like an insider's view, or I don't know, just to know all the places. She didn't mention them by name, but I'm like, okay, that's where that is, and that's where that is. So that was really fun. I will say, oh, and another thing about the character, she has a mental health struggle, which I did not see that coming either. And so I thought the author did a really, really good job of creating a character who, she's kind of a new Christian, you find out, but she is committed to growing her relationship with the Lord. And because of a very traumatic experience that she had, a very negative experience, she now has a mental health disorder. And so she's trying to kind of, I don't know, what's the word? Reconcile that. It was very interesting because she was very hard on herself and was basically asking, like, if my faith were stronger, why do I have this? Or if my faith was strong, I wouldn't have this mental health disorder. And, you know, and so it was just really interesting to see her struggle with those questions that I think a lot of people are asking, but maybe aren't talking about. And so I really thought that she did a very good job of making a vulnerable character. And it was not, I'm sorry I'm having so much trouble with words. I need more coffee. It was not like fake or plastic. There was a lot of depth and a lot of real things, or a lot of real life things that were very relevant, that she was able to talk about. Now, I will say at the beginning, I was a little like, because this was published in, let's see, 2016. And I mean, this is very nitpicky of me, but just some of the things that she was talking about at the university, and like the way that she was teaching and the things that she had to do in order to teach, I was like, I don't know. But then I thought, well, I guess at that time, maybe I was teaching there at that time and I didn't do it that way. But anyway, I just felt like it wasn't totally realistic at first, but that was a very small, like very minor thing, hardly even worth mentioning. Now, I do want to say that, well, how do I want to say it? The romance part. The romance part was almost too much for me. And so the romance part was almost too much for me because the main character, Sarah Beth, is, oh, and I forgot one thing about the timeline. I need to go back and say that. But the main character, Sarah Beth, is like living a Christian life, trying to live a godly life now. But we get her backstory, and we get her backstory of how she met her boyfriend. And they did some unchristian things, and that is alluded to. It is not explicit. It is not detailed. I think what they would call it is closed door. So if that's something that's going to bother you or would cause you to stumble or sin, then I would not suggest this book. If that's something that you think you can handle, then by all means. I kind of felt like I could go either way on it, but the fact that it was not something that she was repeating, and in the book she was committed to not living that lifestyle anymore. Excuse me, my accent just came out. Not living that lifestyle anymore. And she had very strict boundaries with any men that she encountered in the, I guess, not second half, but the present time of the book. So the backstory kind of served as, it was not meant to be like this source of entertainment and like, oh, this is good. And it was not glorified or anything. It was definitely meant to show like, this is how her life was and this is how she's living now. That part was really short in comparison to the rest of the book. And also, like I said, nothing was explicit. So just do with that what you want. Okay, if this book were a food, it would be a cheeseburger, but not just any cheeseburger. It would be a cheeseburger and you're like, okay, this is gonna be good. But then once you start eating it, you're like, what is on this cheeseburger? What is in this cheeseburger? This is amazing. So it would be a cheeseburger that has like caramelized onions or mushrooms if you're a mushroom person, or some like secret sauce like remoulade sauce, or I don't know, pimento cheese, bacon. It would be something, it would be like the next level cheeseburger. And I say it's a cheeseburger too, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but just like being in the South, and they eat some crazy food, and the main character really likes french fries and stuff. So yeah, it reminded me of a really nice cheeseburger. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. It is part of a series, and I am interested in reading the next books eventually, probably, maybe, because they're all at my local library that's 5 minutes from my house. And so it was clean and I enjoyed it. And yeah, I guess I have 157 books on my to be read list. And so like if I ever don't know what to read, or I run out of things that I can access whenever I read, I will pick up one of these, or maybe I'll just be curious. But I'm saying all that because the story is tied up so nicely at the end that it didn't end on a cliffhanger. It's not like I've got to read the next book. But the next book in this series follows 2 minor characters from this story and makes them the main characters. And so yeah, that is leaving Oxford. Oh, and halfway through the book, I really thought that I knew why this was called Leaving Oxford. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably it. I was very surprised at why she titled it this, and I guess you'll just have to read to find out, but it was a lot more complex than I originally thought it would be. Okay, so I mentioned in another video that I saw the word fervent prayer, and I've been looking for a prayer book because that sounded weird. I've been looking for a book about prayer because I tried to read, what is it called now? The Stormy O'Martyrin, or I don't know how to say her last name. It's sold like millions of copies. The Power of a Praying Wife. I tried to read that and couldn't. And then I have The Power of Prayer to Change Your Marriage or something. But then I thought, maybe I should read that with my husband, and we're already reading another book about, not about prayer, we're already reading another book right now. And so I shelved that one, but I still wanted to read another book about prayer just because I feel like of the Christian disciplines, I'm very dedicated to sit down and journal and pray and all of that, but I don't feel like I have the most vibrant prayer life. Like sometimes I forget to pray throughout the day and that sort of thing. And of the spiritual disciplines, I feel like reading the Bible comes a little bit more easily to me, which imagine that. I love to read and I love to connect with God in that way. Not saying I don't love to connect with him in prayer, but I feel like I need to know a little bit more about prayer, or I would like to know a little bit more. And Priscilla Shirer, okay, I've also read this book before, and I normally write in all the books that I have of when, like I write my name and then when I read it, but it came out in 2015. And so I think I read it maybe about 10 years ago. And so I really don't remember much of it. And then there are these little like prayer index cards where you can write your own prayer based on the topics that she talks about in each chapter. And I had filled out a few of those. So it was really funny to see, like, even from then till now, like I'm saying that I don't have a very rich prayer life, but like, I don't know, it was really interesting to see kind of how basic or elementary my prayers were then as to now. And then I was in my early or mid 20s, I guess early 20s. And like, I don't know, I was surprised at like how much I've grown in the past 10 years. I'll say it that way. So that was kind of cool to see, but it's been so good. I really love Priscilla Shirer. I think she is a wonderful Bible teacher. She's also a great actress. She's in War Room, and that's a really good movie. And yeah, I'm just excited to keep reading and kind of grow in my prayer life and kind of like ignite it again, I guess. And so yeah, this is a nonfiction book I'm reading. I typically try to just read, well, okay, I'm laughing because I just made a video about the like 6 or 7 books that I started reading at the beginning of the year and didn't finish. And I think 99% of them were fiction. And so I was gonna say I try to only read one fiction book at a time, but clearly I had like 6 or 7 going at a time. But that's why I try to read one at a time, because I can easily get lost in a story in fiction and just, you know, sit down and finish the book pretty quickly. But nonfiction, you know, I have to think about more, and I don't want to rush through it as much because I want to actually like apply the principles to my life. And so anyway, for that reason, I try to read one fiction book at a time, one nonfiction book at a time, goodness. But I just really wanted to start this one. And is this not a beautiful book? Look at the inside. The gold. I really like hated to touch the cover. It smudges. So, oh, I haven't even looked at it underneath. Okay, no, but this side. But yeah, I am doing a book club at church. I've done it the past 2 semesters, or I don't even know. Yeah, basically last fall and this spring/summer. And it is just so fun. My church is pretty big. I would say it's like 400 to 500 people that attend regularly on a Sunday, which for me in small town Mississippi, that's a big church. We meet in a high school gym, so it is filled. But there's only like 7 or 8 people that are in the book club, and then typically, like, you know, it's every other week, and so sometimes some people can't make it, so it ends up being like 4 or 5 people, and it's just a really sweet time to sit down and talk. And I've loved getting to know those women. Most of them are in like the next stage of life for me, and there are a few women who are like my mom's age, and so it's been kind of fun to be like the youngest in the group and really have a lot of people to look up to and learn from. But what we are reading this time is A Jesus-Shaped Life by Lisa Harper. And I saw on the top a Back Porch Theology book because Lisa Harper has a podcast, and that's what it's called. And it's called that because she talks about theology, but she wants it to feel like you're sitting on the back porch, like it's very casual and come as you are. And I've really enjoyed her podcast. I don't listen to it regularly just because I don't listen to a lot of shows regularly. I'm more sporadic, but she's really funny. And so when I picked it up and I read the subtitle, it's How Diving Deeper into Theology Can Transform Us in Our World with the Radical Kindness of God. And I was like, okay. And then Sadie Robertson Huff wrote I don't remember what you call them right now, but basically like wrote a recommendation for her, or like a little blurb of why you should read this. And it said, when you see a book about theology, it may scare you away. It's like, is this a book about theology? Is that what I'm reading? But it's been really good so far. We only had to read the foreword, the introduction, in chapter 1 for book club, and that's in a couple of days. So I finished reading that. But literally, when I was reading it, something that she said about a scripture made me stop and get my Bible and be like, is this really true? Because it challenged a verse, a well-known verse that a lot of people accept as being interpreted one way, and that's what I was taught. And then she's interpreting it a different way, but she made a very convincing argument. And yeah, so it really has messed with me in a good way. It's just challenged me. And so I don't know that I've ever been reading a book and like stopped in that moment to be like, I've got to go look this up now. Like, I really can't think of another time that I've done that. I've thought like, oh, I need to look up that scripture, but I was like, I have to figure out what this actually says in the Bible. Even though she had the verse there, I wanted to look at it in my Bible. So yeah, if a book can point you to the Word of God, then hey, I think that's a win. And that wraps up this week's video. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these books. If you have any questions about them, I would love to answer them in the comments. If you have read them, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. I doubt that anybody has read Leaving Oxford, but if you have, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week, and next week, I hope to see you face to face. Thanks so much for watching.